there has been times where I've been on sets and people have said either very clearly comments about the way I look or made indirect comments that they think I can't hear, but I can obviously hear. On The Winter King, we had an amazing intimacy coordinator, quite a few actually. On jobs like that as well, everybody, like the production team, everyone was really great because they wouldn't actually have conversations about that scene with you unless the intimacy coordinator was there. I've seen lead actors literally being so sick and they're like in between takes, shivering and then coming back up. My first day on set and I'm kissing someone and automatically like, I might not have even done a chemistry read with this person. I really loved the character of Guinevere, especially being a Black person in that role. Like I never could have imagined that I would have been able to play that. Somebody got things confused. And a rumor began that I actually was really good at horse riding. I was not. It looks terrible, it feels terrible, and you end the scene thinking, oh, that was horrible, I hated it. Call my mum, cry. Call my dad, cry. Call maybe like my best friend, cry. And then I'm done with it. I really want to tell queer Black stories. That's really important to me. I really loved working with Ian DeCastico on The Winter King. He always tried to do everything to make people feel comfortable.
Hi, my name is Andrei Rogozin and this is Beyond Real Talk, a podcast where I invite real entertainment industry professionals and ask them real questions. What are they actually doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And how can you start doing the same thing? And my today's guest is Jordan Alexandra.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? I haven't seen you for a while.
A very long time.
Before we go into art, acting, and everything, what do I need to know about you to understand you better? Anything from your childhood, your roots, anything?
I always describe myself as someone that's very adaptable. And contradictorily, I really also like things to be very similar. But once I have like the important things that are stable and regular, then I can be very adaptable to my surroundings. And I think that's been quite important for me in general as a person and in my career, because there's just so much change, right? Everything's always fluctuating. So that's always helped me to kind of go with the flow of that. But I would say that's a big part of me. My growing up, I have 3 siblings. And I'm also from a big family. Like my mum has, I think it's over 16 brothers and sisters. So my family's huge. And that's a very important part of life for me is my family and spending time with them. So all those different aspects.
I read that you spent a lot of time on Barbados when you were growing up.
Yeah, so I'm Bayesian, my family's Bayesian. And I have family that's still out there now. And I just been really lucky that I've been able to therefore go out there and see them and spend time with them. We used to go and stay at my auntie's house, which is really lovely. So yeah, I get to go out there a lot, which is nice.
It's like paradise.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Why aren't you there right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm asking myself this question every single day. It's so nice, I love it. It's so sunny, the people are so relaxed. It's just like, the country is beautiful as well. Ridiculously expensive, but
oh really?
Yeah, it's super expensive, but it is just such a beautiful country, and I feel so relaxed and so at peace. And I think for like such a long time of my life, that's been the only place that I've gone to and just felt like completely like everything switched off. I can really relax.
Was it ever a choice for you, like London or Barbados?
It still is every single day.
Oh, really?
But there's so much more to do in London, and work's like, it's always nicer to be closer to here because there's work, but you don't really need to anymore. But there's always that question, because Barbados is so nice. And I look at London, especially now, and I think, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why have I done this to myself? It's great. Nobody likes that. It's not nice.
And you also lived in Brazil for 2 years.
Yeah, when I was 11 to 13, that was an incredible experience. Not all my family went out, but me, my younger sister, and my parents were out there for my dad's job, and that was just, it was really an eye-opening thing to experience at the age of 11, you know?
Oh, what way?
I think at that age, you're still kind of living in your bubble, and everything that you've experienced is just, it's just what you know. So you think everybody kind of lives the same and that sort of thing. So going out there and just seeing such like a culturally different country. Again, having to adapt to my surroundings, going to new schools, and I'd been with pretty much the same people.
What language did you speak in the new schools?
Well, they spoke English. We had to speak English. They were British schools that we went to.
Okay.
But you learn Portuguese, and then when you're outside of that, you know, your friends and anybody else you're interacting with is speaking Portuguese. So.
All right. So do you speak Portuguese now?
I speak a little bit now. I forgot loads of it, but I'm always trying to train and keep it fresh. But I would love to go out there and just spend some time trying to get that back, you know, to the level it was at.
So how do you think Barbados and Brazil affected you as a person?
I would say Brazil definitely made me far, far more like adaptable than I think it would have been, because there was just so much change in such a short space of time. And also gave me a lot of confidence, because I don't think I started that journey with very many friends. Like I kind of got buddied up with someone and then my buddy immediately left. And then I was just in this country. And even though it was a British school, we were meant to speak English. A lot of the Brazilian kids didn't want to speak English, rightly so. They obviously wanted to speak Portuguese. And so then that kind of created a little bit of a divide. And yeah, I kind of had to figure out how to be okay on my own very, very quickly. And like I attached to a best friend I had out there really, really quickly, and she was great. But if she had a day off sick, I remember I'd be like, what am I going to do? I have like no other friends. So in that sense, I had to really figure out being confident on my own and kind of taking care of myself without just knowing that I had a support system in terms of friends in school. My mum used to teach in the favelas, and so that meant that I was able to go there sometimes and actually see that as well. So that was such an eye-opening thing to see at the age of 11, when I'd never seen anything like that before. And yeah, I think it opened my eyes to how the world works much quicker than I ordinarily would have seen living where I'd been growing up, yeah.
And then, so acting. Why?
Why am I doing this? I think I actually always wanted to do acting. When I was really small, I always was kind of the more dramatic one of my siblings. And just in general, I think a lot of friends would be like, you should be an actor. I guess I must have been responding dramatically to something in situations. So I'd always kind of been that annoying child anyway. And then I remember distinctly when I moved to Brazil, actually, funny enough, they had a performance on that we were doing for the first year that I was there. And I didn't get a very big role, but I remember like it was the only time that like nothing really mattered, because everybody's doing different parts. So kind of your normal cliques are kind of irrelevant, because you have to work with whoever you're being paired up with for that scene or whatever. And I really enjoyed that. And I really felt like much less pressure when I was doing that play. And then I just kind of knew I liked it from that, and loved TV at the time, when I would always enjoy watching TV with my siblings and my mum. And then I think the biggest change when I really realized that like I really enjoyed this is when I was leaving Brazil, they had another performance of Chicago on, and I wanted desperately to be in it. And it was singing. I can't sing, but they were singing in it. And although I can't sing, I was really, really wanted to audition for this thing, but I ended up coming back to the UK. So there was always kind of in the back of my mind, this, like, I missed out on this opportunity. Yeah, unfinished business. So then I think that kind of started it. So in the UK, I ended up studying drama up until sixth form. So it was always kind of there. I think I just enjoy the release. I enjoy putting myself in somebody else's shoes and just kind of playing make-believe for a bit more than anything. Yeah.
But I get you didn't go straight to drama.
No, I didn't.
What did you do?
So I studied psychology at university, and I left that, and I kind of just completely forgot that I actually liked acting. Like I'd wanted to go to drama school after sixth form, but didn't do it because it just seemed like too unachievable. It kind of felt like a fairy tale. So I decided to go and choose an academic route, and my dad was definitely like, yeah, go and do something academic, and that would be helpful. And so I went and did that, and I loved psychology. I was always really interested in people. And just kind of acting and drama, I kind of forgot about it. I was having too much fun at university. And yeah, I left uni and then kind of thought, oh, I want to be just like my dad. I want to go and do something similar to him. And he used to do sales when he was younger. And I was like, I'm going to go into sales. And so I then took this, like, got a job straight out of university in sales. It was horrible. I hated it. And I left that job really, really quickly. I think I was there for like 4 months. And I think a month and a half of those 4 months, I wasn't even working. I had sick leave. So like, it was just not for me. And I really, really didn't like it. And I remember then crying one Sunday and being like, to my parents, just saying, I don't want to do this. Like, I can't imagine doing this for the rest of my life.
What kind of sales?
I was selling security software. So for companies to, B2B, to come and buy this security software to protect their emails and whatever. Telesales, yeah. So it was on the phone. Yeah, painful.
Yeah.
But the actual software was really interesting and I enjoyed that bit. But the calling people up was just not fun. I just also didn't like the office environment. Like, I didn't like that. And I didn't like feeling, I don't think I like having someone telling me what to do all the time, to be honest. So that also wasn't very nice for me. So after I quit that job, I then decided I was going to go and do a job that had more flexibility. I went and started full-time as a store manager in a store. And I was doing that for a bit and enjoying it. But then my uncle said to me that he thought I should do commercial modeling. And I didn't really want to do it. I was like, I'm not sure.
Why?
I just don't think I really got what it was. And I didn't really want to be, my idea of modeling, like my mum had always told me that, and we'd all watched America's Next Top Model, it just seemed really horrible. I didn't want to be worrying about my image and worrying about my weight and stuff like that, which when we were growing up, that was a big thing that you knew about modeling agencies. And I didn't want to be worrying about those things or kind of getting into my head or creating any problems that I didn't have at that time. So I was kind of unsure. And then I thought, like, okay, why not? Let me give it a go. And I applied to modeling agencies, got signed, and then, quit my job. And
got signed.
And it's not that easy because you do get a lot of scams out there. So be careful. There's a lot of scams out there. And the scams, I had a few people trying to make me like pay for massive portfolios and stuff like that. But I did get signed. I got signed to a really lovely agency, which was amazing. And I was really lucky that I got jobs pretty quickly. I started doing that. And I think from then I had more time then. I started really looking at like acting classes, what I wanted to do. I forget to mention that I did actually audition for Lambda and RADA prior to getting my agency and I didn't get in. And I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, study and then apply again. And I realized very quickly that I didn't want to do that. You know, even my experience at some of them, I was like, I'm not sure if it's for me, if it fits me. And so I started modeling and I really enjoyed it.
So doing modeling.
Yeah.
And you said like you didn't want to worry about like your weight, like and everything. Had you still though? Like when you started modeling, like you still kind of have to, maintain some kind of...
I think sometimes there's a pressure. One of the reasons why I say I really loved my agency was MOT Models. And they just never put that pressure on me. They never made me feel like I had to be a certain weight. I think it also is different on the kind of modeling you're doing. This isn't correct, but typically they can be more relaxed in commercial settings than if you're doing editorial or high fashion. And I was doing commercial modeling and my agency were really just very relaxed with that. And so I was really, really grateful from the start. Saying that, there has been times where I've been on sets and people have said either very clearly comments about the way I look or made indirect comments that they think I can't hear, but I can obviously hear. So you still have people, but they're going to always exist, I guess.
Is it still part of the modeling business? Because I spoke to my friend Sophie Theobald, and she works as a model still, like she has for a long time, and she said that kind of it does change modeling a lot. She says like right now there is way more kind of wiggle room in many ways.
I think there's been changes in recent years for sure. There's been a lot more push for it's this modeling industry to not have this completely unachievable, unhealthy and unrealistic kind of mindset and expectation of the human body. Do you know what I mean? So that has shifted because people have been giving pushback. And I think everybody has to be really grateful to those individuals that have been giving that pushback and has made the industry change the way it has. But it's this, you're always going to find people, clients, whatever, who have their own opinion on what they want and what they expect, and that can impact things.
Yeah. And generally you enjoyed modeling, yeah?
Yeah, I enjoy doing commercial modeling, more so moving image. It's just kind of a bit more realistic and fun. I think it was very awkward at the beginning, having photos taken of you. It's just a bit awkward when you haven't done that before. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of in like this still kind of positions, whereas moving image kind of allows you to be more natural.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed it. There have been like certain experiences which I've been like, okay, which has led me to be like, it's time to move slightly further away.
Anything you want to talk about?
I think it just relates to the body image stuff. Yeah. I've had a few instances, more towards the last few times that I was doing modeling, where people were commenting on like my body, or I overheard a conversation previously of someone. I was meant to be doing a scene in a bath, and they didn't have hot water. And I overheard them be like, it's fine, just at least have it like, if it's lukewarm, it's okay. And didn't ask me. And I think there are models that end up in far worse situations than that. Yeah. But I think for me, that was me going like, you can clearly see how much people don't respect what makes you feel comfortable. And are you still willing to put yourself in that position? And at that time, I just decided I wasn't really willing to do that. And that's not to say I would never go back. I just will be a lot more aware of what I'm going back to.
Yeah. When did you go to Identity?
So I went to Identity shortly after I had started doing modeling. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I found on I think it was Star Now at the time or something like that.
How did it go for you?
Identity?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, to be honest. I think I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I wanted something that was flexible and worked for me. And didn't feel like I was doing it full time. I could still do modeling and earn money and still learn. I was really fortunate that I had some incredible teachers. And I also had incredible classmates, classmates, not castmates. But they made that experience for me. And I think the first year that I was there, the confidence we each gave each other and the kind of friendship we each had with each other was really special. And so I loved it. I really did enjoy it for those elements and those aspects.
Yeah, I remember Identity. There were things that I wasn't really happy about, but in general, I think it was a great experience for me. It was great for what it was at that point, but then when I decided I need to move on, I just did.
Yeah, and I think that from speaking to people and from what I've experienced, we are always going to have criticisms or difficulties and things that we do differently because we've not created these schools or whatever it might be. But what I personally gained from it was a lot. I know I wouldn't be where I am without having made that choice. And that's down to so many other things. It is down to the individual teachers, and obviously they're always different. And most importantly, my classmates, they changed so much for me.
Yeah. Do you remember your first acting role?
My first acting role?
Yeah. Was it before or after Identity? Well, I would say the thing that we did.
The thing that we worked on, that would have been my first acting role. Yeah. That would have been it. And I remember being so happy because I was just meant to be a supporting artist, a background artist on that job. And then something shifted and then they gave me lines and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I've made it, I was so happy to...
But were you nervous at all?
I must have been. I don't remember, but I must have been. But I do also remember that, again, everybody was so lovely, weren't they? Yeah. So it was really easy to kind of relax in that environment, but I must have been nervous, surely. I hadn't done anything like it before.
And then after that, so when you did Identity, what was your next thing? next acting thing?
Okay, so after that and then doing Identity, obviously I did student short films, and that was great. They were really good experiences. But if we're talking like TV and film, it was either Bridgerton or Brave New World. I think I had one-liners in both of those around the same time. So I think that would be my first acting experience in TV.
Tell me about Bridgerton's. How was it?
That was...
You're playing, if I'm not wrong, the courtesan.
And I have a picture of that on my trailer and being like, well, I've never, because they obviously put your name, right? And I was like, this is interesting. It kind of feels different when this is your name. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. Everybody was so lovely on that job. So kind. And it was a really calm experience. Also, obviously I had, it was in like an intimate scene or semi-intimate scene. So we had the like appropriate teams there working with us. And I think that had been like a new thing. I think that was still like early days. Exactly, of having intimacy coordinators. I don't think that they had been around that long at that point.
I don't think so. I think I started hearing about them probably like 7-ish years ago. I think it kind of became a thing.
Yeah.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, you had another intimate scene in The Winter King.
Yeah, I feel like most of my roles there has been some level of intimacy, to be honest.
Can you tell me how it happens? Because I never had I had some intimate scenes like on stage for like in theater, but it was like we never had intimacy coordinators. How does it work?
So in TV,
and also how does it feel?
So in TV and film, any kind of any kind of good and considerate team will have an intimacy coordinator, in my opinion. I think whether people want them or not is always the most important thing to offer them, because it kind of gives you that like voice. And if you're worried about people trying to claim that you're being a diva or anything like that, they give you that support and are kind of the middleman there, the middle person there. So I've always experienced having intimacy coordinators from what I can remember. And they kind of, you'll have a rider which kind of discusses what you're going to be doing and what you're happy to do. And you kind of agree on that beforehand. And then if there's any changes that are going to like be made, it has to go through your intimacy coordinator, and they come and they speak to you. You have access to your intimacy coordinator to kind of discuss things or ask questions. Are
these discussions happen like together with your scene partner, or you do it like separately?
They can do both, yeah. So, for example, on The Winter King, we had an amazing intimacy coordinator, quite a few actually, and we had conversations with the director, and then we also had conversations of like what they saw for the mood or how they saw it going, what they wanted to represent from it, and then we had sessions with our intimacy coordinators. I had a really great relationship with mine, and we kind of had back and forth about what we wanted to achieve from the scene and where my limits were and how I want them to be communicated, and whether we need words to communicate so that it feels more comfortable on set. And then you can also have conversations with your scene partner as well if you want to. And the intimacy can either be there or not, depends on what you want, but they always recommend that the intimacy coordinator is there. On jobs like that as well, everybody, like the production team, everyone was really great because they wouldn't actually have conversations about that scene with you unless the intimacy coordinator was there. So that kind of meant there was no room for there to be anything kind of miscommunicated, misinterpreted, anything like that. So that's normally how like the first steps go, and then you're in the scene, and that's when you either feel awkward or you feel comfortable.
But that's the thing, like, how do you feel in a scene like that? It's like, it can be, because I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking like, oh my God, this is so, it's like, it's awkward, right?
No, it's definitely awkward. I really love romance, and so I really love like being able to have those storylines. I just find it's really, really special, and to be able to create those moments and have people feel those things that you feel when you're younger and you're watching those scenes or whatever, and you're like, like enjoying that romance. I love being able to recreate that for audiences. So from that aspect, I'm always prepared because I know that I enjoy doing, playing those characters. So it's inevitable that might happen, that I have intimate scenes, but it is awkward. Like, obviously you have things covering you. You might have like covers on your nipples so they can't be seen. You'll have something like covering your like other parts. And the contraptions can be very bizarre sometimes. You also have like silicone paddings. So it kind of creates that distance between you and your scene partner. Those things are really helpful though, because then that takes away like 70% of the awkwardness. And then you're left with 30% of just like, you know, maybe being a little bit shy.
How do you prepare like with your partner? Like, do you do any kind of like exercises to kind of to connect, to have more kind of not like intimate connection, but like just, you know, human connection, friendly, like just to make it less awkward?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the person. I haven't really had, I wouldn't say the intimacy coordinators that I've worked with have been like, we have to have a session where you establish touch or anything like that. I think that probably might be a good idea. I'm not a professional though, so I have no idea. But like I've had some of my first scenes have been kissing scenes, and it's my first day on set, and I'm kissing someone, and automatically, like I might not have even done a chemistry read with this person, or I might have, but nothing intimate would have happened in that read. So that can be really intimidating. So yeah, you really kind of have to think for yourself and create that relationship. But honestly, like normally, your scene partner is being considerate, and they also want to feel comfortable, you know, and they don't want it to be awkward. They don't want to make you feel awkward. So they are also going to try and make sure that you create like a good rapport and friendship beforehand. And yeah, in my roles, obviously in The Winter King, that was Ian's incredible. So he just always made me feel really, really comfortable. So if you can get people like that are just really considerate of you as their scene partner and vice versa, it's perfect, because then you have a little trust going on. Yeah.
And what would be your policy like in, let's say, like just you know, nudity and intimacy in films? Well, like, are there things that you know, like for sure I would never do that, or it really depends on context and the project? I
think it really depends on the project and context. I always say, for me personally, that I will only be as undressed as my scene partner. And this is something I've learned along the way. There's been times when I've been told that like me and my scene partner are going to be like, both of us will be nude. And then I've got to set. And this is when I was doing kind of smaller roles and was maybe like a daily and stuff like that. And then when I've turned up, my scene partner's wearing a lot more clothing than me. And I will never do that moving forward. I will always make sure that in my rider, my contract, it says I am always going to be as dressed or as unclothed as my partner. And it's up to me to choose, but that's the maximum that I will be doing. Because unless we've had a conversation before and you've explained to me why it's imperative for my character to be more nude or whatever, I don't really see the need for it. You know, any person does have to go into the situations aware of who they're working with, and just making sure that they're working with teams that are looking out for them and asking the right questions to do what they can to be aware of what's going on there, you know?
Yeah, I understand. Never been there. Because no one was there.
Can't say that. How do you think you would find it?
I don't know. Well, I think it really depends on the partner.
Yeah.
I think. No, I did theater. We just had like 3 shows. It was Russian Fringe theater, and me and my partner, we both were topless, but like topless for men is very different than for a woman, right? So it's kind of we had trust between each other, so it was fine. I didn't have a problem, you know. But again, it's very different for me. Yeah, everything is covered.
Yeah.
So
the bits that you ordinarily wouldn't be showing, you still weren't showing.
Yeah. And also, I was in much better shape back then.
Then you're like, I'm ready for my close-up.
Not perfect, but much better. Anyways, what do you think would be your, right now, up until now, would be your most complex role?
I would say Guinevere on the Winter King. For a number of reasons. That was the biggest one. And I think I really loved the character of Guinevere, and I really felt honored to play that role. So that gave me a lot of kind of weight on my shoulders. Bad idea, I shouldn't have done that to myself. But no, I really love that character. And when you love a character like that, it already adds so much complexity because you're digging so much deeper, and it's sentimental to you as well, to such a degree. So yeah, I really felt like there was a lot of layers to that, and trying to create this world, trying to find a version of me within Guinevere and still have Guinevere be her own person. There might have been moments or beats that didn't necessarily feel right, but I had to figure out ways to make them feel right for Guinevere. And also just, we were in such cold weather. So even in that regard, like...
Where did you shoot?
In Wales, Bristol and Wales. And it was really cold. And even when you're inside, it's cold, So yeah, that added a whole nother layer. I also injured my back when I was doing that. And so obviously injury being like, my mind was telling my muscles like to not do the things they should have been able to do, right? It wasn't like I didn't actually rip my muscle or anything like that. But what it meant was I'm meant to be doing horse riding. I'm meant to be, walking actively in cold weather where your body's already, So all of those different things just added a lot to that role.
Did you train horse riding before, or you just trained for production?
Listen, you know what? I had on my thing, I don't think I had horse riding on my spotlight. And when I got there and I got the job, they were acting like I'd said I had done horse riding for years. And I was like, wait, I've done horse riding before, but it wasn't on my spotlight. Like I told them, I've done it before, so I'm comfortable around horses. I did it a few times when I was younger, but not like constant training. Somebody got things confused. And a rumor began that I actually was really good at horse riding. I was not. So I definitely had training when I started. They had wonderful teams that were there kind of teaching us how to get good at horse riding. And I also took horse riding up as well in between periods I wasn't working. But horses...
So what was the hardest part of that role?
Can I give two answers to that?
Of course.
So because going back to the horses, that was a really difficult part. I'd never had to act whilst trying to maneuver a living being. I'm not the best at doing that sort of thing because I also would rather be more passive with animals. and you have to be really stern with them and you really have to build it up. But then also delivering lines. There was like so many different elements. Delivering lines whilst trying to maneuver horses, that it's the mud is like you're stepping all over it. The horse is stepping on your foot. A horse is nipping at my clothes and I'm like, will I die? So there was a lot of things, and it's in the middle of winter. It's freezing cold. My jaw is starting to shut and my lines aren't coming out clearly because it's so cold. So there was just trying to maneuver all these different things at one time was probably one of the most difficult things I've done. And I've been in a lot of odd situations for roles, but that was just the amount of things there were. But on top of that, what I found difficult, but really enjoyed, was trying to take the elements of Guinevere that I learned about her in the books of how cold she was, but still make her a lovable character that people wanted to see like thrive and achieve things and had a reason to root for. And it's so much easier to just play a cold character. And that was, really difficult to try and make sure that I wasn't playing her too cold or too warm and getting that balance just right.
How do you do it?
I have a really, really amazing coach that I worked with prior to starting the project. And he has a company called the Spiritual Acting of Psychology. His name's John. And we worked together. We kind of broke down everything to see like, who is Guinevere? Why is Guinevere this way? And understand the psychology behind her as a person. And I think when you understand why somebody might have these negative attributes, or why somebody might be being cold, or be so desperate for power, or deemed so desperate for power, it's so much easier to like have tenderness and warmth for them, because you start to understand them as a three-dimensional character, and you humanize them, you know, and they're not just evil, you know. So we did all that. We did all the psychological background and created visuals for what we think happened to her. And yeah, that really helped. And I kept that with me. I had a whole booklet of stuff.
No, really.
I loved it.
Like, when you prepare, what's your process usually? Preparing for the role?
It varies. It really does. I think a lot of people might expect there to be kind of like the same approach every single time, but it really does vary for me. Like, I take roles on, I think, what would work for me best as an individual and the context that we're in. Sometimes I'm on projects where things are moving so quickly that it does not make sense for me to have that much prep and know my lines word for word, because sometimes there's so much change that if you have like memorized something exactly how it is and there's no room for alterations and we're doing it quickly, you're going to have a hard time. And I'm dyslexic, so sometimes like absorbing lines quickly and when they change can be really difficult for me, because I'll have the way that I've learned it there.
Yeah.
So you have to apply different things. Sometimes I will learn every single line and make sure, like I did for Guinevere, I had to know everything so clearly, because she doesn't talk how I talk. You know, she doesn't speak in the same way that I do. It's slightly different. So it wasn't going to come automatically to me. I needed to really know what I was saying. And then for some roles, I have, you know, a lot of prep, a lot of visual prep that I'm doing. I love doing that because of psychology. I just think it's so interesting. And when I do that, that is my favorite way to work. If I have the time, I do really enjoy being able to analyze a character, work out why I think they're like that, and then create visuals for myself where I put a lot of sensory information in, and I'll record myself and creating these scenes of what happened to me at certain ages with lots of sensory information in, and then I'll play it so that those memories become my memories. And that's my most favorite way to approach acting and the roles that I do, because it's the most enjoyable for me. A lot of other things I've learned along the way I've not enjoyed the same, and I just kind of felt like they were, it felt too artificial to me, you know, and to somebody else it might not, but to me it did, whereas this just works perfectly for me.
And so you create all those visual kind of images for yourself, and you have this like backstory and you understand the character. But then when you prepare for the particular scene, like, do you let it go when you're in the scene?
Yes, I didn't used to. I think that I would be, when I first started, I remember doing scenes and being really stressed, like, am I doing that thing that I said I was going to do, you know? Forget that. So this has not been all the time, but now I do let it go. Like, now I will look at the scene, and I'll do kind of similar things for the scenes, work out what it is that I feel like I'm trying to get out of each line. And then once I get there, I just hope for the best. I just have to hope, and I have to trust that my director is going to be able to spot things that I might be missing and redirect me. I hope that me and my scene partner are going to be like able to work well opposite each other, and I just let it go. And I think that's the only way that I can actually relax and enjoy what I'm doing. Otherwise, I end up obsessively thinking if I'm actually on set seeing a piece of paper where I've said angry, you know, and I'm now trying to be, it just doesn't make any sense. And it looks terrible, it feels terrible, and you end the scene thinking, oh, that was horrible, I hated it.
All right. And then when you see the scene, how do you get used to looking at yourself on the screen?
I'm fine with it. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's because I did so much modeling before, so that meant I got really used to seeing my face on a screen. and ignoring it. I personally, like if I get headshots or anything like that, I don't choose them. I send them to my agent and I'm like, what do you like? And I ask friends and stuff like that, what do you like? Because I don't want to be I'm never going to see myself how the rest of the world will. So as far as I'm concerned, when I see myself on that screen, if the director was happy, the director was happy, you know? I can't worry about it.
It's such a healthy way of doing it.
No, but it's been like I've practiced for a long time doing that. And I think part of my fear in modeling of ever being made to feel insecure about my body image or anything like that reinforced this like way of thinking, because I would avoid letting myself begin to think, you know? I think it's much harder to be like, oh, I'm thinking about how I look. Make sure I only think nice things. It's easy to be like, just don't let yourself think.
No, it's not even like about how I look, but
I'm saying when I was modeling, that's
yeah. But with acting, like I still sometimes I'm alright with what I see, but sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, my face does that. Oh,
why?
Why?
Checking with everyone. Do I always do that?
Why people talk to me? It's I don't know.
I think a lot of people feel that way. That's such a normal way to feel, right? Like we don't look at ourselves like that, and then we also don't see us. That's what's different about acting to modeling is you don't see all those different expressions that your face made. Like there's definitely been times I've been like, interesting, you know.
But how often are you happy? You yourself, you're happy with what you do on screen, with your acting?
I would say there's scenes in everything that I've done where I've been like, I would do that differently, especially early stuff. And more recent stuff, there's always scenes where I might be like, ugh. But normally they're the scenes that I did and was like, that sucked. I did not enjoy that. Do you know what I mean? And then I see it and I'm like, but I feel comforted by the fact that I knew that, you know, I knew it was a really hard day. I knew the challenges I was having. Nobody else knows that. So I kind of give myself the grace for that. Maybe I'm too kind to myself. I don't know. But yeah, and I think a lot of the time, especially now that I kind of am able to let go more and have a more carefree approach and just try to enjoy it a bit more, when I see myself, because I know that I wasn't in that space or in that scene thinking, I need to be great. I need to be a great actor, you know, look at me. As long as I wasn't thinking that, I leave the scene going, nah, like even if people don't relate to my character or the way that I perform that, I know that I was there with that actor. I know that I was there with them and I was present. So no matter how I see it and no matter how I feel when I see it, it's irrelevant because I know that there was nothing else I could have done more, you know? I was most natural. I may not have been Guinevere enough or, I don't know, Susan enough. Like I might not have been this other character enough how the audience might like it. But one, I'm never going to be able to get it right every single time. And two, for me, the most important thing is being natural and then trying to build on top more and more on top of that. So normally I'm okay as long as I felt, and if I've left the scene not feeling okay, then I also know I'm not going to feel okay, so I'm prepared.
Yeah.
Is that annoying?
It's a little bit, yeah, because I used to actually saying they hate looking at themselves. No, it's very healthy, honestly. It's very healthy. It's like every actor should be striving to be like that.
And if you know the scenes you didn't like doing, just don't watch them. If you were like, that scene was horrible to film, I just advise people not to watch it.
You know what? No, maybe I'm wrong. No, I think there were scenes that I did in class. And I was like, it wasn't bad. It was bad. But then I'm actually watching it like, actually, it's all right.
No, that's true. Yeah, that does happen, doesn't it? And you're like, oh, I was really mean to myself. Yeah, that's so true. I have had that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe ignore everything I'm saying. Watch it every time.
No, I mean, like, but nowadays we have to watch it. Like, we're, especially self-tapes.
Yeah.
We're doing self-tapes. We have to be the judges of what we're doing.
I get so bored of my own face. Yeah. Just tape after tape.
Do you have any rules for yourself? Like, I'm not doing more than 5 takes.
Yeah. Before COVID, it was rough. Like, I was doing so many takes. And I just thought, Jordan, it's got to end. Like, I was making myself cry.
Yeah.
And I thought, Jordan, you're crying over an audition. Like, you're not my thing that I always say is like, I'm not saving lives. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I need to not be crying over an audition tape that I'm not getting paid for. Like, I can't, you're ruining your day for no reason. And so then eventually I stopped. I was just like, no, I'm doing, I think my max is like 5 takes now. I normally do it in 3. But I just also make sure that I have all the things I need to, you know, prepped and stuff like that. Yeah, that's my biggest rule, because I do not want to spend my day-to-day.
All day.
Exactly, my all day doing it. And then I feel like you start to resent things more when you do that, and I don't want to do that.
What's the most stressful thing about acting for you?
Being told what to do. I do think there's an element, I really enjoy working as a team, but genuinely, I think the most difficult thing is you go on set sometimes in other countries and you have to rely on other people to like respect you, keep you safe. Like sometimes you don't know anything about where you are. They just say, oh, there's a car waiting for you. They won't tell you the name of the person picking you up. You know what I mean? It's just wild behavior. So there's a lot of, that can be really, really stressful, I think, for me. Like, I guess nothing to do with acting in some way, but it's such a big part that you just don't know about. But that I can find really, really stressful. And then obviously what goes hand in hand in that is that there are rules that you have to follow in terms of even after you finish a job, like in terms of PR and stuff like that. Those things are really stressful. And I think...
For example?
And just to give it perspective, stressful in the context of work stress, you know, not everything else. But for example, you have interviews to do, you might have signed NDAs. So you're doing an interview, but there's still things that you can't say. But obviously you're trying to answer naturally. But now somebody's asked you about a particular, like a romance storyline or whatever it might be, and you can't say what happens because no one's allowed to know yet.
Yeah.
But you need to answer the question. And by the way, the people that made me sign the NDA hired you, and you're asking me this question. And you're trying to, you know, your head's just constantly going. And so that can, in a work environment, really be overwhelming because there's just a lot of different things you're trying to do, all whilst being filmed. And so they're capturing every single bit of it.
Is it easy for you to let go the audition? I mean, well, you get a self-tape, and what's your policy with that? Like, you send it and...
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
I send it and it doesn't exist. There's been a few times, I think definitely at the beginning of my career, those things hurt me a lot more. And sometimes it would even be stuff like, I got the role, but then I can't do it because of a clash or something else. And that would like break my heart. But I've learned from those experiences, and now I would say 95% of the time I do it and it doesn't exist. Now, obviously it gets a lot harder when you get like further along, like you're now in the last, it's between you and someone else and you've just done the chemistry read and you really love everyone, the team seems great. That's a lot rougher. Like that's harder to kind of pull yourself back from because you can't really be at that stage of not caring anymore. You've had to put a lot more time and work into it. And now you've built many relationships with these people that you've met along the way. So that is a little bit harder. And in those situations, I let myself mourn it. You know, I give myself like time to just mourn that. Call my mum, cry. Call my dad, cry. Call maybe like my best friend, cry. And then I'm done with it. Then it's done, you know? But most of the time, I have really learned the best thing I can do, and I say this to everybody, is just like do it and absolutely block your mind from ever thinking about it again.
Yeah, I understand. Were there cases that really broke your heart when you knew you didn't get it?
A TV show I auditioned for, Devil's Hour, I don't know if you've seen it. And I'd auditioned for that whilst I was on The Winter King. And I watched the first season and I loved that show. I thought this show is so cool. I just really thought it was just an amazing show. And I really wanted that role and it was different. I thought it would be a nice change from roles that I've done before. I can't remember if I signed an NDA, so I won't say anything more apart from the show name about it. But it was really cool. And I didn't get that. And that, I wouldn't say... I'm sure there's been times I've been more devastated. I just can't recall them right now. But I was definitely really like, damn, that was gutting, because I really just loved the show and saw that for myself.
Are you ready to be a lead in a series?
Yeah, I think obviously The Winter King was like my first start in that. I wasn't in every single episode though, and that's different, you know, like taking that on, you do really have to, especially a series because it's longer, you have to be ready. And
because I think like a lot of actors dream about it without actually understanding how much pressure
100%.
there is.
Everybody wants to be a lead actor and they think, oh, it's be so exciting. When I've been working with my lead actors that have been doing, you know, they're the lead actors doing, everybody's looking up to them, doing every single episode, they're there every single day. It's exhausting. Like they're sick and doing it. They're like, I've seen lead actors literally being so sick and they're like in between takes, shivering and then coming back up, you know? I've been really lucky that a lot of the lead actors I work with have been just really gracious people as well. So it's created this lovely kind of team environment and ensemble environment. But yeah, it's a lot of work. And if you as a lead actor aren't respectful, aren't considerate, it kind of filters down to everybody else and it can completely change the environment on set. So not only do you need to be determined and hardworking, have the energy, have the consistency, you also then have to be a team leader. Do you know what I mean? And also whenever you have new people coming onto set, you have to be able to emotionally reassure them, you know?
Yeah.
It's not your job, but it makes for a much better TV series if you are able to reassure those that might be less confident or might just be having an off day.
Yeah.
People are looking to you. That's so much more than we think it is when we first start. We're just like, yeah, it'd be cool to be a lead, wouldn't it? Yeah, I could do that. I'm a great actor, let me do it. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
Am I ready?
Yeah.
I think I'm ready now. And I think this is the first time where I've been really ready to be a lead for, you know, the whole way throughout. I think I've learned a lot in the last few years and taking on roles that were just really challenging emotionally, in terms of the context that I was in and whatnot. But yeah, I'm ready. But again, the reason I say I think is because it really depends on where I am at moment to moment, because it is so much work. There's going to be times, there might be years when I might have the opportunity to play a lead and I might be like, I just don't think that's something I can do right now. If I was committing to certain seasons, you can prepare for that a little bit better because you can kind of put those things on pause and know year after year that's what you're going into, you know. But when you're taking something on for the first time, it really is going to always depend on the context of where your life's at and what things you are trying to achieve at that time. But
how busy was your schedule with Winter King?
I ended up, I think I had my first day maybe in September, and then I had some time off, and then I went back and was there October, November, December, January. It was really intense. I was working most days, and I wasn't prepared for that because I was doing episodes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wasn't expecting to be in every single day, but I was in most days. I would say like 90% of the days. And we were also sometimes rehearsing on a Saturday and then traveling on a Sunday because we were going between Bristol and Wales. So it didn't always feel like you had that complete refresh and reset. And because obviously you're also doing your lines in that time, you're learning your lines for the next week and preparing your stuff for then. So it was really, intense schedule. And we still had to account for if people got COVID and then there were changes and that sort of thing. So it was very fast paced and very intense.
Did you have some like specific regime for yourself that you needed, like you need this amount of hours to sleep?
Well, yeah.
Or like just did exercise or whatever, just like keeping yourself safe from anything?
100%. I listened to hypnosis to go to sleep because I've struggled with insomnia for years. So that definitely helps with that element. And then on if I have time in the morning. So if I'm doing like an 11 a.m. start, then I'll work out in the morning. If I'm waking up any earlier than that, or like meant to be starting any earlier than that, I'm not working out. That's not a thing. Unless I finish super early and I can come back and work out. But for the most part, I do feel like it's really important to be doing some sort of physical exercise. On set can be very, very physical, but I think it's also nice to be kind of secluded in those times when I'm doing fitness. Whilst I'm working, it allows me to kind of recalibrate and have a moment to myself. So I really enjoy that. But those are my two main things.
Yeah. All right. And when they decided to close the Winter King, what was it? How did it feel?
Close as in like wrap it, or as in not go into season 2?
Not going to season 2.
I had, again, I think it's very clear from our conversation that I do a lot of preparation for the negative thing in fear of being sad.
Yeah. That's your psychology background, right?
Yeah, just going all the time. But I had prepared myself that it might not happen. And I'd been kind of going through like the benefits if it doesn't happen and the negatives, and allowing myself to weigh both up and go, okay, but if it doesn't happen, then these are the positive things. And if it does happen, these are the positive things. And I'd done that prep. I hadn't allowed myself to think too much about what life would look like if I did those other seasons, so that I didn't get too attached to the idea. But
it's so smart.
It's all preemptive, like preventative things that I can't get sad. But when it did happen, I was obviously really devastated. I loved working with that team. They were some of the most incredible people I've ever worked with. The friendships that we had, how easy everybody was to work with, like being able to laugh on set when it was so cold and just people were so exhausted, people were sick, and be able to sit and enjoy yourself. And I just loved Guinevere. It meant a lot to me, especially being a Black person in that role. Like, I never could have imagined that I would have been able to play that. Because growing up, like, I always thought that at that time, like, Black people didn't exist in those times, like in those like environments of the the British kingdoms, like that wasn't a thing, in the 5th century Britain. And I always loved those things. The idea of being able to dress up and do that would always be exciting, but I never thought that I'd be able to do that. And so then being a Black mixed race person, being offered that role just felt so special. I thought, wow, like I'm really going to be able to play this character that like I resonate with so many different elements of who they are and how they're seen by other people. And I get to allow like other people that look like me, or even just like can see themselves from who I am as an individual, can see that on screen and be like, oh, we can do this. And that was really important to me. And whilst not everybody's going to look at me, 100% everybody's going to look at me, not every POC person is going to look at me and see themselves in me, but there are going to be some individuals that do. And that made it so special. So for that reason, hearing the news was sad. And also, I don't know if you've seen any of the reviews for Winter King, but a lot of the reviews for Winter King spoke heavily about the casting and race. And so that kind of actually reinforced like how happy I was to be able to do that, because we clearly need it. People are still commenting on it. So we clearly need this. And I was just so grateful to be a part of something with the actors that I got to work alongside and to play that character. So not being able to do it again, absolutely 100% devastating. Did I prepare myself so that I didn't have to cry for months? Yes. But I definitely shed a tear. And then I bounced back and thought, there's so many other opportunities that are going to be out there. There just has to be.
Question. I have to ask it. Do you think there should be cases where when we cast actors, races shouldn't be swapped?
In what sense? How do you mean?
Just in general, because I think like there's a lot of conversations when there's a race swap, like they're like this character wasn't white or wasn't black, like in the book, in history. Do you think that like there should be cases when we shouldn't swap races and when we definitely should, or should be open for it?
I think we should always be open when we're talking about minorities. I mean, it's really clear that in the industry and in so many other industries, minorities don't get the same opportunities. And my question is like, why do people care so much? You know, that people never seem to care when a white lead is playing a role that was typically maybe East Asian or something like that. It's not the same white audience members that care about Black and brown individuals playing white characters. Those same people don't care when it's the other way around. And that is what the concern is, you know?
Do you think people like don't care now, or it's more like, because I know like in the past there were so many cases when white dudes just played everyone. I don't think it's like the case. Like, do you think it's the same problem right now as it was like 20 years ago?
I don't think it's the same problem, but I don't know if that is the right question to ask, because the problem still exists, you know? So it might not be the same, but what does that really mean when we're still experiencing so many kind of blockages and barriers to getting to where we deserve to be, where minorities deserve to be, you know? There's so many hurdles that you have to jump over. And you can see that if you go and read reviews of shows where they have POC individuals playing, not even necessarily roles that were meant to be white, but you have them playing roles and it's maybe too many for the TV show that individual audience members want, you know? Or there's, in the books, they define them as this, and to me, I thought that was a white person, you know? If you look at the things that people are saying, it's happening all the time. And in casting, there's still so many difficulties, you know? That needs to change. And it doesn't matter that it is changing. That's great. Great. But we should never have been here in the first place. So unfortunately, like, whether it is changing or not, there's still so much work to be done that I'm not sure how beneficial it's better is, you know, for those communities. There's still so much work to be done.
And I know that you participated in Momentum program.
Yes.
Can you tell more about what it is?
So the Momentum program is a program run by We Are Parable, which is this amazing company. And the Momentum is there to kind of promote Black British talent in producing, writing, and directing, to help them kind of advance their careers, and offers them a mentor and masterclasses within the industry. It's a brilliant program. I really, really enjoyed it. I had an absolutely amazing mentor who I'm so grateful for now. And yeah, I'm kind of seeing where that takes me in terms of the writing and directing moving forward.
So that's one of the directions you want to explore.
Yeah, so nobody can tell me what to do anymore. That's obviously why I'm doing that.
No. But that's the problem. Even when you're writing and directing, there are still people who tell you what to do.
Exactly, never ends.
Producers.
It never ends.
Yeah.
I reckon even when you're a producer, there's going to be somebody. There's always going to be, you know. But I really, really loved that program. I think it's a brilliant program. There's exactly the kind of programs that we need. And that I think Black Brits really deserve to be like having these opportunities and taking advantage of them. Like, we deserve that. We deserve to have people bringing us in and bringing us up with them and allowing us to network and have opportunities that we otherwise might not have had, or might just not be as accessible to us. So yeah, I love that. And I wanted to try and get more into writing and directing. I still love acting, but I have stories I want to tell, and I also want to be able to give back to my own communities through doing that, you know? So being able to do that through writing and directing would be amazing. I'd really love that. And I'm in the process of writing something at the moment.
Is it something big, something short, something serialized?
A TV series, we'll see where that goes. Maybe I'll come back on the podcast when it's done. What do you want
to write about?
I really, 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 really want to tell queer Black stories. That's really important to me. I think I don't see enough of those stories being told. I feel like I've seen a lot of stories about what it's liked, and there's still not enough of them, by the way, but I've seen a lot more stories about white male queer experience. And that's been beautiful. And that's been like so many of my really like special moments that I've had growing up is watching those movies and those TV series. But I would love for there to be more conversations and more art exploring those things for the Black community and for the queer community. I think growing up, I didn't see a lot of Black queers on television or on film that I felt like I could relate to. And I think that impacted a lot of my own experiences growing up in terms of my sexuality and my identity. And I would love to be able to tell stories that aren't necessarily about it. Sometimes they might be, other times they won't be, but they're just including those individuals from those communities, you know, so we can see it and it can just be about living, you know. And I really, really want to be able to do that for myself and for like the next generation of people that also need that.
I think it's pretty cool.
Thanks.
I think it's pretty cool.
I think so too.
And so, do you write before?
No, I've always written. Me and my friend Bryony, in COVID, we wrote together as well. We were writing a TV series. And so I've always been exploring writing to some degree, but I've never taken it as seriously as I did in COVID with my best friend, but then also since joining the Momentum program. I think ultimately my biggest focus was always directing. And I kind of felt like, well, I've not studied writing. I'm not really able to do that. But I'm a lot more confident now, and I'm realizing, like, finding my voice and realizing that I'm very capable of doing that. So,
what's the process with writing?
Do I even have a process that I can describe to you? I don't know.
Do you break down your each episode, like each whole season to bits, and you just like plan everything and then you write scene by scene, or you just like start here and we'll see where we go?
Yeah, that's like my most like favorite way to work, honestly. Yeah. But I use Save the Cat. So again, my friend Bryony in COVID, we looked at Save the Cat together. She kind of introduced it to me and we worked through that. So I have experience with Save the Cat and how it works. And it's a great, great book. And I think you can get an ebook and audiobook maybe, but it's really helpful. So I use that to help me with like beats and understanding all those things. For structure is not really my strong suit. But then for the most part, like what I've really learned to do is to just write something, just get something there, because otherwise as a perfectionist, I can really end up going over and over and not making any progress, which happened to so many of my earlier things that I would try and write. So now I just kind of, when I'm in a good flow state, I just go. And then like I might read it back later and be like, that was weird. Well, let's get rid of that bit. But at least it's on there, and then I can start the editing process. And then also there's more ideas, I think, to work with.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And you?
I mostly, when I did write, I don't write right now. I mean, because I've written some things, but then I've had run into a problem, like how to make people who matter to read it. Yeah. I can barely even make my friends read it, so.
Please read this.
Yes.
So it's actually wild because some people want to read your work, and I think I would always want to read people's work. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know, because then I think I sometimes not in the mood to read my work.
Yeah, that's fair then.
So no. I think I do know that I need, when I get back to it, I'll need to be more structured, actually, to do proper breakdowns before I write, at least to a degree, because when I start writing it just we'll see where it goes. I know that it goes somewhere, but then in the end, especially when it's more complex story, I try to write this sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
So
hard.
It's not linear, because some stuff is happening right now here, and some stuff is just flashbacks, and also there's a virtual world that in every episode is different.
And you need to explain it, and how do you explain it?
And then at some point I realized this is way, I can't juggle so many things. I'm not that good yet.
Yeah. I think sci-fi is I love sci-fi. I think it's really hard to write. I also tried writing something, and it's still there. And I'm just can't do with it, because it's there's just so many elements, right? And I think there's so much kind of exposition, I guess, you have to do in a sci-fi, because you have to explain so many different things to build this world, but not make it boring. I
Yeah.
also realized I was like, I need to wait till I'm more talented, I think.
Who was your most favorite person to work with from actors?
One of my best friends I worked with on Boiling Point, Precious Alavi. So that was like obviously an incredible experience because she's now become my best friend from that. Like it just gave me this wonderful human being in my life. But I would say aside from friendship, I really, really loved working with Ian DeCastico on The Winter King because I just think he really took care of people on set. I think I had the most like intimate scenes I've ever done. We were working a lot. It was cold, as I've mentioned 1,000 times. But he just really also showed like how important it is to be a leader and look after your team. Like there's lots of small things that he did to make sure everybody thought like they were being helped by him, you know? And I think it's really, really easy to, people love to kind of make you this star when you're the lead. And it's really easy to just be like, yes, thank you this, thank you that. And he never did that. He always tried to do everything to make people feel comfortable. And it made working with him really easy, I think, for everybody. I think everybody would say the same thing, work with him. So, yeah, and he's always been super helpful since as well. So he's been my favorite person to work with as an actor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I love everybody else too.
No, of course.
I've really been very lucky.
Tell me a little bit about Boiling Point. How did you get it and how was your experience? Because, as you know, I spoke to Anya about that. And it's just, for me, it sounds so exciting doing one take. And you had 4 takes as far as I know. Tell me, how was it?
I just found the entire experience really, really novel. Like I couldn't have imagined doing something like that so early on in my career because it was the very beginning.
The cast there is just insane.
Yeah, and I could not have imagined doing that at that time. And the cast was incredible. The fact that you're doing it all in one take, just mind blowing.
How did you audition for it?
We just went. I don't know. My agent gave me an audition, and what I remember, I did a self-tape. So my agent sent me the self-tape and I had to tell a funny story about myself to camera. That was it, in an American accent. And I told a story about being at my sister's wedding and my dress falling down and my boob falling out in front of my entire family, and sent it off and immediately regretted sending that tape. I thought, why did I do that? Why did I send such a specific tape? But anyway, it got me in the room. And then I had an audition, and the part that I auditioned for I didn't get, but then I got to be one of the individual's friends. And then we ended up, because we were improvising, you kind of still, I got more lines than I thought. I thought I wasn't going to have any lines, and actually I did have lines, which was really lovely. So yeah, it was a pretty straightforward audition process. So I did, I think, the self-tape, then the in-person audition, and then I booked it. And yeah, we were there for I'm sure you know from Maniera, we were there for 2 weeks, I think it was. And we were doing rehearsals, and we all would be there all day, whether we were rehearsing or not. But that's also why we all became such good friends, because you had so much time to kind of communicate and enjoy each other. Yeah, it was just such a cool experience.
Yeah.
And to be so in such close proximity to these actors that are so talented and get to see them work is so rare at that stage. So often you might be there, you're in for your one line and you're out, or you're in the background, you know what I mean? So to be able to actually be there, seeing them from start to finish, doing what they were doing was just such a wicked opportunity. I loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Which take did you prefer?
I have a feeling that I might have preferred, it was either the one we used or the one afterwards, I can't remember, but I remember at the group I was in, we were having some debate about whether that one, the one that got used, or the one afterwards was the best one.
Yeah.
So there was back and forth, definitely. I can't remember exactly which one I preferred. Could have been a different one.
Yeah, just so if you don't understand, first of all, Boiling Point is it's a film this was made just one take.
Yeah.
And it was filmed 4 times. So there are 4 takes, which is full movie. And I think Anya said number 3 was used. Take 3.
Take 3.
Take
so
3. in the end was used, but the crew and cast were kind of separated because there are two opinions to use take 3 or take 4.
Yeah.
And in the end, take 3 won.
Exactly that. Yeah,
I would love to see a lot of takes.
Yeah,
honestly,
I'd
it would
love
be so
to.
interesting.
It's so amazing though. Like it still blows my mind how like Matthew did all those camera. It's just incredible.
Do you do stage?
I don't do stage right now. At the end of the day, I started acting, and that's like those are the only kind of ways I'd experienced acting was through doing stage performances to some degree, and so I loved it. But when I first started, I had really bad anxiety, like terrible stage fright, would shake and would just feel so sick. But I don't do it right now. I would be interested at some point. I can't say that I would enjoy the length of most stage performances, you know, doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, I mean, like if you do Fringe, if you start with Fringe, it's like few performances and then you're
at some
done.
point I would love to experience it. I think it's a completely different energy and vibe to doing TV and film. A lot of like the things that you can love about acting can be completely lost when you're doing TV and film, and you have to find new things to enjoy about it. So like it would be really, really nice to have those elements back in theatre, through theatre.
Yeah.
I'd enjoy that.
Well, who is right now, you would say, your biggest inspirations in acting?
I really do my best to avoid focusing on those things. I just think it helps me enjoy my career more by not thinking about those things. But saying that, there are obviously a lot of actors that growing up I've really, really loved. An obvious one being Viola Davis. Like I've always grown up loving that person and the things that she's done for Black women in TV. I always loved her, and she was very, very inspiring for me in my teenage years, and early 20s, I think maybe. But I really, really find it so important for myself, and this isn't saying that everybody has to do this, but for myself to not focus on those things. I think, again, it's just one of the tools that I use to kind of keep myself level-headed and not try to be like someone else.
Not comparing yourself to...
Exactly. I think when I first started acting, especially because I love people like Viola Davis, I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be like it now, immediately. But I was learning. I was never going to be. So to compare myself to that, I was never going to be off that standard. But then on top of that, we're also completely different people. And I think it can be really difficult on yourself, and me personally, if you start to focus too much on other people, It's
so annoying that you're so healthy in so many ways.
I'm so sick in so many others, I promise.
Okay. Look, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you would like me to ask you? Anything you would like to talk about?
I want queer individuals. I want Black individuals. I want POC people to be able to have the opportunities that they haven't been able to have for so many years. And I want us to not have to play the stereotype or the character, or us to be in roles and the storyline be about the fact that we're queer or we're Black or whatever it may be. And I think that's the biggest thing for me right now, today. That's my biggest focus in what I want to do within the industry. And that's probably one of the only thing that keeps me creatively active in the industry. Obviously, there's always, I have to work, I have to earn money, but in terms of creativity, that's my only driving force. And so for me, that will be, until it's not like that anymore, the most important thing.
All right.
For me to discuss and make sure people are thinking about and considering and going, how can we change this?
Well, I hope that you will have success in that.
Me too.
And, because it's always better to, when you create those opportunities for yourself, that's, I think, the best way to go with it, because you know the stories you want to tell and you are working on it, which is amazing. Is there anything in the pipeline right now for you, or that's nothing in particular?
Not right now. I'm obviously still auditioning, so things can change in an instant. But right now, no. I'm just enjoying my time writing, and I also do art. So I'm just taking time to enjoy those two things when I have the time to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, then next time when you have some project to brag about, we should do it again. And now let's do the BLITZ round.
Terrifying. What is this?
The BLITZ round is quick questions.
Let me get ready.
Quick-ish answers. You can't say anything that's wrong, apart from things that are wrong.
Okay, yeah, that makes it really easy.
No points, no prize, and no point of doing it. So you
I
can
think
say
next time
no.
there should be a prize, but that's okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Your one guilty pleasure?
Cookies.
Oh, what makes you laugh?
People laughing. Just love it. Makes you laugh.
What makes you angry?
Mean people.
Yeah, don't care about them. Whatever. Do you have any nicknames?
Geordie.
That's cute. What dish do you cook best?
Vegetarian ackee and saltfish. Kind of defeats the point of ackee and saltfish. But it's like a Jamaican dish.
Yeah.
Ackee is a fruit that you have in Jamaica. And then like a vegan version of saltfish.
What is the vegan version?
I use flower parts or mushrooms.
Okay.
And then I just salt them.
That actually sounds pretty nice.
It's delicious.
Your favorite character in any fictional story?
So hard. I can't do this quickly. Gandalf.
That makes my next question a bit easier for you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, by the way. Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
That was like one of the where you could give wrong answer, but you did right.
Thank you.
Do you have any unknown, unexpected talents?
I just told you that I'm an artist as well, so that's not unexpected.
Yeah.
I can lean back really, really far.
Like it,
Like Matrix style. Yeah.
We will not try to.
There's just not enough space here.
How often do you cry?
A lot. Cry. 100%, like minimum once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how people can reach you if they want to work with you?
They want to work with me, they can contact IAG, my agent Nina Malone. So if you want to catch me or contact me or look at any of my art, I'm going to be updating my website, which is www.iamjordanalexandra.com.
You'll find everything in the description and on screen.
Yeah, that's the best way to contact me.
Okay. And one last thing is the segment that I call One Cool Thing. I actually stole it from another podcast. Anything that you love or enjoy that you discovered recently, not so recently, and you think our viewers or listeners should try it too.
Yes, I do have one thing. So I have The Artist's Way, and this book has honestly just been so incredible for me over the last few years. It was given to me by my sister. She gave it to me, I think, as a Christmas present. And a lot of people know about this book within the industry, and especially if you're on TikTok, but it basically helps you unleash your inner creativity. So it doesn't matter whether you're an actor or not creative at all. It just helps you find like your inner child and your creativity and helps you develop good, healthy habits and mindsets. And I definitely equate a lot of my ability to work through the difficult times to this book.
Right.
So The Artist's Way.
Okay, check it out. Look, it was so nice to talk to you. It's been such a long time since we actually catch up. I hope it's not the last time. I hope we'll have a lot of opportunities and reasons to do it again.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the episode, like, subscribe, comment, and bye.